It is a period of time in which organizations are looking at our world and they're realizing, we've got a lot of big problems that we need to fix. There are a lot of societal challenges that we need to address. There are a lot of issues that we need to address if we are to get through the reality of the difficulties that we're faced with. Here's a little graph on how the typical American spends their day. Sleeping, working, reading, forms of entertainment, and things like that. Look at this. Leisure and sports. Today we devote 3.63 hours to leisure and sports. Socializing and communicating, 0.61 hours. Television, 2 hours. Sports and exercise, 0.2 hours. Isn't that an absolutely staggering number? To think we spend 0.2 hours per day involved in some type of sports activity. Do you know what the impact of that is? Here's a little graph that shows the emergence of obesity in the United States. Starts out in the period 1986. And we've got blue on the graph, and darker blue is 10 to 14% of the population, is suffering from obesity. The graph is now taking us up to 1991. Watch the number at the top as we traverse through time. All of a sudden, we've introduced dark blue. 20 to 25% of the population is now suffering from obesity in these regions, and shortly we're introducing yellow. We'll go to dark orange, to a point in time, we're up to 1999, where now half the country, is faced with a situation where we're dealing with more than 20% obesity. We introduce bright orange. The problem continues to expand across the country to the point where almost half the country, 1/4 of the population, is suffering from obesity. There is a discussion occurring in this country today about the fact that we are placing ourselves in a condition in which lifestyle diseases are going to cause huge problems in terms of their drain upon healthcare, in terms of the future health of children, in terms of our future productivity as a nation. And you look at the numbers here. Obese and overweight statistics for children in the U.S. We have states where the number of obese children is exceeding 1/3 of the population. We're in a situation with childhood obesity in which over the last 30 years, child obesity rates have tripled for American children. 1 in 3 children in this country today can be considered obese. 1/3 of all children in the U.S. will develop diabetes as a result of the obesity crisis. And many others will face chronic obesity health-related problems, including heart disease, high blood pressure, cancer, and asthma. I'm out there with organizations such as the National Recreation and Parks Association, who are sitting back and that their mandate increasingly has to be, what do we do to get this younger generation active? What do we do to get them up off the couch and away from the video game and out such that they're physically active? Because as a society, we need to address this issue. Michelle Obama, with her wellness initiative focused at young children, is focused on the same thing. I am seeing cities and towns at the municipal level talk about this as one of the most critical things they need to focus upon, even as they wrestle with the fact that they need to balance their budgets and they need to pull back spending. There's a lot of discussion in this country about the role of government. And, in Public Management magazine, there was a very succinct article that said, everyone knows we would hit a period of time in which communities would reach their limit in terms of the role of local municipal government or state government. Now that day has arrived. And elected officials, and appointed officials, must come together to figure out the role of local government. What do we need to do? And for those of you who are the club pros at municipal courses, you need to be a part of the discussion. They are having a discussion around wellness. I go into organizations such as Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, a CEO session to talk about future trends. I go into organizations such as St. Joseph's Healthcare out in Orange County, California, talking about what we must do to innovate the healthcare system into the future. I go into organizations such as the Minnesota Hospital Association CEO Summit, who had their off-site at Brainerd, Minnesota. Wish I could have spent some time, to golf there. All of these organizations are focused on wellness. How do we continue to aggressively get the wellness agenda ingrained in what we're doing within the world of healthcare? And think about what's going on with the game right now. I think you go through several periods that, you might call them transformative times. I think back to 2003. The 2003 in which, Tiger's swing was not there, and you suddenly had a year, in which you saw a lot of amateurs, begin to have their moment in time, their moment of glory. That was a transformative time, because what that said to the amateurs out there was, I have a glorious and wonderful future in this game. You think about the transformative time that you find yourself in today. You think about the transformative time that is occurring, as all of a sudden we've got an entire younger generation of golfers who are out there, who are the new mentors, who are building and basing their game upon physical fitness. Upon the whole focus of, I'm an athlete. I'm an athlete who golfs, and I have a training regimen. We were sitting there watching the game with my 15-year-old son, and we were watching, the great, rule infraction debate, and he was watching, what was occurring. And they had this one moment where they showed, his backswing, and they showed, the muscle movement in Dustin Johnson's back. And they were talking about the regimen of training that he puts himself within. And you think about the transformative moment in time in which we find ourselves today. All of a sudden, because of what is occurring in the game, you are aligned perfectly to the wellness discussion which is occurring across this country today.